Okay, welcome, Josh. Looks like we got this thing going.
How's it going, Mike?
Very good. Welcome. So, just wanted to jump in today. We're going to talk a little bit about you and your business, kind of where you've been, what you're up to, and hopefully find some insights that we can use for future discussion about how you might improve your business and
Okay.
your approach to what you're working on. So, I'm going to ask you a series of questions we'll walk through to kind of give you an idea of some things you might not be thinking about your business all the time. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Probably dive into deeper on some of the questions that might have some interesting elements there that we want to kick around a little bit. And then
Okay.
we'll go from there. So let's start out. Tell me a little bit about kind of an overview of your business.
All right. So my business. Let's see. I've got my site joshgretz.com. I'm building it to be an authority site. Right now, I teach community education classes in the evening on body language and conversation skills, things like that. So I help people build stronger relationships using body language and nonverbal communication skills. So. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's where I'm going and doing some coaching and things like that. But yeah, just that's my business.
Okay. And how long have you been doing the coaching and kind of consulting on that front? And what kind of got you into that world of things?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, but really, I kind of saw the need for building relationships in business and just in life in general. And I've had a lot of personal experience with people close to me. I've witnessed a lot of trauma and just kind of bad things going on with family and things, but and a lot of it could have been fixed with
Mhm.
just stronger relationships. So that kind of got me into thinking, and it all kind of started when I saw Kevin in community education classes back in back in about I think it was 2000 2001 when I graduated,
Mhm.
and I went to a body language class, and it was kind of the first time that I ever saw someone teaching these things, which kind of pissed me off too because uh, I feel like it's something that should be taught in school. It's something that
Mhm.
there should be some curriculum for it. So it just kind of got me thinking. And so over the years, I went into other jobs and things that just weren't working, and I knew that I wanted to do something for myself and I wanted to help other people. So
Mhm.
was that all the
Very
question, or
good.
was there a little bit more there?
Uh, Kind of thinking a little bit about how you got into doing that. So did you just kind of start jumping in and training on that? And uh, how did you kind of get into the actual teaching of it? Do you have a kind of a teaching way of style or background, or how did you get into the teaching side of it?
I just knew that I wanted to, that community education gave me an opportunity to get in and just help other people by starting
Mhm.
classes with it. So, yeah,
Very cool.
just gathering the information and collecting it and finding out really based on my experience what's worked for me, and yeah, just kind of going from there.
Can you give me an example of somebody that you might have taught and kind of what they got from learning in your classes?
Yeah, I found out that my audience is there's a lot of introverts in, so the class is about conversation, kind of what to say,
Mhm.
and there's this point where people see they kind of get it. They're like, oh, like really. Um, for some people, just the silent greeting of an eyebrow flash was like a huge
Mhm.
breakthrough because people are unaware of it. Just saying, hey, how's it going? So in passing, getting them stronger to making people feel more comfortable just talking to somebody else. So really, it's just that point when they shake their head, yeah, and they make a comment and say, hey, like I wasn't even aware of that. Where did this come from? So it's just kind of it's a really cool moment.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't notice is they forget about some of the other things that come into play. And like you said, if you're an introvert, a lot of times you're not going to spend a lot of time thinking about conversations and how to do it better. And you just kind of get in a pattern of doing a lot less and less and reinforcing the fact that you're not communicating. And then once you start to get some benefit from that, you can start moving out in ways you might not have even thought about before and just really getting involved and becoming more of a communicator. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I kind of ran into some challenges because we're to do um, getting people to do stuff. So getting them up and running exercises with people that
Hmm.
don't want to do that, you have to kind of I've tried some things and I'm working on that to tweak it. So it's not as make it easier, make it more like a game to get people to just
Yeah.
okay and open up. So it's kind
No,
of
that's very cool. All right. What would you say in this field? What are you most proud of? What's one situation or one result or one person or whatever that really made you proud doing what you're doing?
I'd have to say right now I'm most proud of just getting the classes up and running. It was
Hmm.
such a huge step, and it really forces me to get up and do the stuff that I want to do, which is a big thing for me is getting out there and doing it. And what has happened is I've noticed at the end of the classes, talking with people and working on things, it's just asking people what I can help them with, and then tailoring my talk to what they came for. That's been really rewarding too, is making that connection with people and walking out of there feeling like, okay, I just talked to a group of people and they're a little bit more comfortable with their body language, or they were super introvert and now they have somewhere to go, something a challenge to try out as they go out into the social world. So for
No,
me, it's the
that's
classes. I'd say, yeah, I'm really proud of putting that together. It was a lot of work. I was super nervous about it,
mhm.
but
Yeah, can
getting it
imagine.
going. And it's like tomorrow night I'll be in Rochester. I'll drive down, and the nerves start kicking in. But I've done it a few times, and
Hmm.
the format of it is really cool because we can talk and we can have back and forth. So it's cool.
Yeah, no, I like the fact that you're also having some good takeaways that they're taking and mentioning. And I would say that that is one area that really jumps out at me so far in our talk is looking at what are the things that they are taking out of your classes that are aha moments. And as you're marketing your classes and talking for future opportunities, what are those aha moments that you've heard that you can either follow up with those individuals and say, you know, I really appreciate you giving me that feedback. Would you mind uh, giving me a quick email to that effect that I could include in opportunities for future classes? Because I find that there's a lot of people like you out there who have struggled with being a little shy or uncomfortable getting up in public situations. And I'm really excited for you that you've been able to get through that. And I think that there's others out there who would also appreciate that. And if you could share that, that would be awesome and would help me bring more people like you into these classes to help them as well.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it's something I've been wanting to do. I just
Mhm.
kind of in the hustle and bustle of you put everything together, you just kind of forget about that stuff. But it's really good. So moving forward, tomorrow night I'll uh, make a note of that and see if it happens. See if I can ask someone.
Yeah, and here's something you might consider for that is I was in a bunch of classes where at the end they would have kind of a speaker evaluation. And one thing you could have is like a brief 5 question speaker evaluation that you leave with people before you leave, and you just have them put it in a box at the top front of the room when they're done, and you can leave the room or whatever to make them more comfortable. But with that, you can ask them, what was one thing you got out of this class, and could I share that? Check the box if I can share it in my marketing or with future classes. And I think that would be good because it does give you a way, and back to your point, with a lot of people who are really shy, possibly, that's a non-threatening way for them to share what they got out of your class and even further move that along in terms of giving you that direct feedback.
Right. I like that. The maybe my own because we do have the for the
Hmm.
district. Each district has their own kind of setup, and then
Hmm.
I could just see if I get that checked out. Just get my own
Yeah.
going.
And then at the bottom of that, maybe have, I'd like to get future information about this, and you can have get them give you their email address there, and then it allows you to put that into your autoresponder later and include them in your e-zine or articles or things for future.
Okay. So just have that option right there.
Yeah, just I agree. I'm interested in receiving more information on the topic from me. No risk, no cost, whatever. And just check this box and put in your email address here, and we'll get you some current information in the future.
That's good. I like that.
All right, let's go into the next thing. What are you most passionate about? It's kind of a little different question than what you're most proud of, but what's something that really energizes you, gets you really going?
Geez, I'd say kind of back to the classes, getting people getting up in front of people and just having new information for them and delivering some cool content that's possibly going to change the game for them. I think is something that um, I knew I'd like, and
Mm-hmm.
I know in personal conversation it can be overwhelming for some people to sit there and listen to you. So, so
Yeah,
get me on stage, right, or something like that. Uh,
exactly.
there's that, and then there's also kind of like this. Um, there's this thing like so relationships. I want to build relationships personally, like
Hmm.
at home, in social settings, and then also at work too. And so each of those kind of have like their own little button that is pressed. For me, just having a past of troubled relationships, having some problems and things like that, personal relationships, and then being like non-social, not being social with people, kind of that button there is losing friends that you've had for so many years, just kind of because of something stupid that happened, and losing touch. And then at work, like carrying around the vengeance of going to work for a factory and having them lie to you, type, things that
Hmm.
come up, stuff like that. So those are some kind of like hot buttons for each topic, I'd say. But yeah.
Yeah, and do you share those kind of as the kickoff in those classes you do? Do you kind of walk through what brought you to this point and how it's helped you and why you're so passionate about this?
Yeah, I do. I have. They're not really perfect yet, or they're not tweaked
Hmm.
or completely memorized. It's just kind of whatever comes up, and so I do demonstrate the need that way, and
No.
also yeah. So like where I came from, I went through a bunch of junk,
Hmm.
and do you guys know somebody like this or whatever? Has this ever happened to you? And then I work on, and then I show them like my favorite list of things that have really changed things for me. So
Oh,
yeah,
very cool.
yeah.
No, I like that approach. I think that does make it human, and your story also, I'm sure, sinks into a lot of their stories and things that they can instantly identify with and go, okay, yeah, this guy sees what I see, and I'm excited about this class. I'm going to get something out of it.
Kind of like just being relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up. So, marketing. What are the different types of marketing that you do at this point?
Okay, so there are a few of them. I'd say I was thinking about this question. I'm thinking starting off with joshgretz.com. That's kind of the biggest, the place where I'm going to collect all of the stories and the content and just kind of put things up there. Um, and I have not been posting like the way I want to, so I'd like
Mhm.
to be posting daily, and uh, whether it's video or articles or blogs. And then I also have, I mean, there's kind of like find all the information there about my classes. So I've got some short ad copy for one of the classes and a calendar option where you can see where I'm teaching next type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, and then really my thing is I want to build the registration for people to get them to sign up at my classes. So I was thinking of, and I haven't done this yet, but I want to do free class, like either a half hour or an hour at the surrounding library of the locations I'm going to go teach, just to
Mhm.
kind of maybe see if someone will come and generate buzz. It's also an opportunity for me to get up in front of people, but it's also kind of a, hey, a lead into the paid class.
Mhm.
So it's kind of
No,
where
very
I'm at so far. Yeah.
and so with the classes you've been teaching, how do a lot of those people get into the classes? Is it coming from you, and what's your uh,
I did
marketing out there,
recently.
or are they also providing leads, or is there coming through the regular school re- or communication registration process that people organically come through?
Right, I'll kind of fill you in there. I forgot about that. So there's a catalog that each district has,
Hmm.
and we write a little paragraph for that for the class, and then sometimes it'll have my picture, it'll have the title, all the details for the class, and then they send that out to like I'm thinking thousands and thousands of people in the community. It comes in the mailbox that's like right next to the real mailbox. It's like the green one,
Mhm.
and it's all throughout the community, so it's kind of all over the place, and that seems to generate, people look for that come to the classes. There's that avenue. Then there's this other one that I found out about where, okay, so like if you're a teacher, or if you're in kids, if you are part of kids company, are you familiar with that? The before and
I
after.
haven't heard.
You have?
I have not.
Oh,
So
okay.
tell me
Kids
a little bit
company.
about that.
Yeah. So that's just the your kids. Like, let's say you drop them off at school early because you got to go to work early, type of thing, and they go into this kids company kind of play or study time. And then at the end of the day too, they do that too. So they stay later at school. It's just kind of like extra activities for them. So these two teachers and nurses and kids company people so far that I know of, they they get certain points where they can go to classes to do continuing education. And if I get my classes approved by the person that does that at the school, then the teachers will know about it, and if they like what they see in my class, they can come to it, and it's paid for by their employer. So
Yeah, no, and that's a good thing because I think the education through employers is a pretty big area, and it was one I was thinking about the other day after we talked
oh, okay.
initially. Was you have different groups that do classes for corporations typically. They do classes on Excel and Word and Microsoft Office. They do classes on how to improve your public speaking, how to do PowerPoint presentations, how to sell, all kinds of different things. And I would think that tying into one of those groups, given that you've already proven yourself in some other organizations, I would think moving into parallel organizations might be an opportunity, and you offer a class that they're not already teaching that kind of fits the model of what they're proposing. Well, they do all the marketing, all the advertising to big corporations. Well, big corporations, $149 class, a $250 class, even a $500 class. A lot of times that's a no-brainer. They sign a check. It takes 2 seconds for them to approve that because a lot of the bigger corporations have required continuing education. They require a lot of their employees to take stuff, and they pay for that.
Yeah.
So your niche is a pretty interesting niche on a variety of fronts. You often have managers who have come up through the ranks. They were really good in the manufacturing plant. They rose up to be a plant manager or even a supervisor. And a lot of those guys didn't have a lot of schooling. They came right out of high school and they jumped into the work world and they worked really hard and they moved up. But a lot of them are uncomfortable in front of people. They're uncomfortable in a public speaking type of presentation or even just general communication. How do you communicate well in a business environment? So I think there is a lot of applicability. So I think you're on the right track with a lot of these organizations, and possibly expanding into kind of the corporate training arena might be another area that has both a combination of good classes that fit your niche, but also a good pay scale where you don't really even have to sell them on the price. They're already doing that for the people who are offering these classes.
Interesting. Yeah. Have you had what would you say a good search on that would be, just to find more information about maybe how to
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah, because I've been doing similar things. I kind of looked at the community education. I found one group in the town that I live in Elk Grove, California, that had community education training. It was inexpensive. It was $99 a class, but it had how to set up a website, how to do a business plan, how to do marketing, all those kinds of classes. 6-week class, 100% online. So
Okay.
it's a class you could be teaching in Elk Grove from where you live.
Right.
So I think a lot of those things are already out there. I just happened to search my town and business training, or I think I searched for adult education. I think was the one I focused on.
Okay.
But I was thinking the same way for the corporate side. One thing probably an interesting approach if you had some time and made a few phone calls. It's an easy sell is to call big companies in your area and their corporate HR and find out what types of training do you do with your employees, and do you have certain groups you already go through, or do you contract that directly? And let me send you a little bit of what I do, and you tell me if this is something that might be a fit for your employees. It's reasonably priced. I, do this as a regular basis in the community, but would like to do that for your company as well. And if not, if you're already going through other organizations, if you share with me those organizations, I can see if I can do that for those organizations, because a lot of organizations have regular trainers, but I think they might also have people they bring in for certain subjects who are experts, and they just roll it through their organization, their pipeline that they already have already assigned. It's kind of like if you have products that you sell through Walmart, it's a lot easier to sell a bunch of other products through Walmart. And if I have a product to sell, I want to find somebody who's already selling through Walmart that I can just throw my products through, because I don't have to spend all the time getting that pipeline set up.
Interesting. Okay. So looking for the already established trainers, and then looking for maybe if they just contract out. That's really cool. HR, right? I mean, why?
Yeah.
That sounds good. It sounds like they would be interested.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely two things there. There's definitely the HR side, and then there's the who do they use, and typically what they'll get, because I've gotten these in roles that I've been a part of, is I get it because I wasn't the HR, but I was the director role, and so they would send me these full color 25-page catalogs of business training.
Oh,
and I'd get these things in the mail, I'd get them in an email, I'd get them all over the place. And if you're an HR person and at the end of each year you're doing your annual reviews, well, a portion of the annual review goes through what are your goals for the upcoming year and training. And company I'm at right now, they have a training requirement, and a lot of the individuals are going through Excel training or speaking training or whatever.
Okay.
And some of it is in-house. They may have already like videos that people will watch to get that training covered. But in other cases, they have to refer them somewhere. And as an HR department, it's really nice to have somebody at your fingertips. So when somebody says, well, I struggle at public speaking or communications, but I don't know of any companies out there that do it. And your HR goes, well, here's somebody, go check these guys out. And it's only, $250 and go do it. So.
And it's just required. So
yeah. And the company's already agreeing to pay for it. That's in their requirements. So you're already past the money part of it, and it's a lot easier to sell a corporation on spending money than it is ever to get an individual to spend money.
Okay, right. Cool. I like it. I got it right down here.
Okay, the next one. In terms of the sales process, do you have a kind of sales process? I guess in this case, it would be more selling the community organizations on you as a presenter. How does that process work?
So it's been surprisingly easy. I have set up pictures at my site, just a couple of headshots and things, and a couple of bio things. They're not amazing, and I don't have a ton of experience, but I've been able to meet with coordinators and set up and just really organize all the meetings and sit down, and we just talk about what I'm offering. And a lot of times I found that it's really kind of switched. They want people to come in and teach, because we share that fee. So they 50-50 or sometimes more is what I ask for. But so far it's been going pretty good. I think that process, I'm always in a constant mode of offering. So I'm constant. So I'm like offering for the winter classes now, and some of the deadlines I missed. So I'll be making sure that I'm way ahead of the game in spring. So each month comes up, I'm constantly doing this organizing and connecting and creating the other classes. So that process I think is okay. It's just I'm wondering how I can organize it better. Maybe I was even thinking of a place on my site that's made just for the event coordinator, so that they can look and see, okay, so this is what I'm offering in the spring, and then it just is like a breakdown. So I'm not sure maybe if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, well, you might see if there's kind of like a calendar option in there, and I've heard of some. I may have to do a little bit of research on that to find out what those are. Or what you can have is maybe contract with somebody to just be the person who schedules your events. I heard somewhere where you can basically set up a shared calendar where this person schedules it for you all day long, and they just fill up your calendar and you block off times that you're not available and open up the others. The other one that was kind of interesting, I think along those same lines, is for the ones that you kind of figured out what their schedules are and you're starting to schedule in advance. That's great. Set yourself, if you have Outlook, set an Outlook schedule request in your calendar so it reminds you, hey, this is the week I need to schedule this one as that scheduling window. But the other thing along those same lines is once you get that block set up, the other neat opportunity is, say you have a local Chamber of Commerce or Rotary or something along those lines where they regularly bring speakers in. The neat thing about already having your time blocked off with the other commitments is you can say, my time is really limited at this point because I'm doing a lot of these community organization speaking options, and these are the 2 days I have in the upcoming month that I could do a lunch presentation, or I could do an evening presentation or whatever. And just the fact that you're walking through why you're so limited makes you a little more interesting for them to talk to. They got a schedule with people anyway. They always have to bring speakers through. That's their event coordinators are always looking for more people to bring through. But the fact that you're in demand makes it even more interesting for you. And they may jump on that opportunity. And then it also puts you in front of a lot of business owners. A lot of them tend to be smaller, but there are going to be some that are some bigger companies that may be able to put you in touch with their HR. And now it's a warm lead coming from an executive in the organization, and HR is more likely to go, okay, yeah, he told me to call these guys, I'm going to call these guys.
Right. I like that. I like that idea. And as I'm going through all this stuff, there are so many places I can go speak, but I've just been so focused on community ed and how can I get more. So this is really cool.
And I think that's a great point you just made, which is, number one, you want to start with the things that are paying the bills and getting the opportunities. Always start there. But then look at these other pieces. What are the ones that you see are the most leverageable? What are the ones that are going to get you the best fees, or in front of the more people who need your services? Or which are the ones that can convert from a one-time fee to an ongoing revenue stream? Typically, employees are less likely to spend their own money, but corporations will. So the corporate training piece can go and go and go, but generally when somebody takes your course, they're not going to have a follow-on. But if it's an entrepreneurial person or somebody who has a little more personal investment and will spend their own money because they're going to be able to get in front of a higher level opportunity that maybe is going to convert them into getting more sales, that may be an option where you turn that into a monthly follow-up coaching. What did they present on this month? How did that go? What were they really struggling with? You help them through that. And that, per person, $99, $149, $59 item can turn into a series of $99 a month, 1-2 hour sessions that you just blast through with them. And also because of that, you're developing relationships with people. And as you develop the relationships, they're also going to be more comfortable referring people your way because they really know you and they're comfortable with you and they've seen the benefits of working with you, and they just get excited about sending other people who struggle in that same area your way.
Wow, really cool. I like this. A couple of really good spots here.
All right, let's jump down to the next one. It's kind of interesting because I think about the competition, what separates you from the competition. But in a lot of cases, you're competing against just your own time to make things happen, and also people just doing nothing, right? So beyond that, what would you say is your competition?
Interesting. I like how you say that, competing with getting people to do stuff, right? Or in my own time. So my competition, I don't know, I'd say that I'm still looking, and that's kind of the place where I'm in the dark a little bit, where I need to find more people that are doing the things like me. in community ed, I haven't seen much of it because
Mhm.
there's an opportunity for me, and there's not really anyone else doing body language or conversation stuff right now. Um, which, by the way, my topics do change every season, so I'm kind of coming up with things that are similar, but around the same thing. So, like
Yeah,
my competition.
tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that, because I think you raised a good point, which is you change it for the season. So how do you change it for the season? What types of things would you do
Well,
in
the
spring
sun
versus summer
changes, and
fall?
then the leaves come out. No, I do like so far for the fall I've been doing communication skills, and then when the winter comes up, I thought, well, it's kind of a good idea to do something around the new year. So I was doing so now I'm setting up classes for productivity and self-sabotage, things like that.
Nice.
And then for the spring, I think I'll go back into body language, maybe tweak it a little bit with something like interview skills for body language, just
Mhm.
kind of different topics. And then the summer, there's not really much. There's a lot for kids, and I think if I'm not busy in the summer, I could figure out something where I am out there training some soft skills for people, for younger adults, maybe teenagers or something along those lines.
Here's another one that kind of jumps out at me, because what right now we're in summertime or the end of summertime, and my kids are playing sports. Interesting subject is you have kids. I was in the same boat when I was 14, 15, 16. I was refereeing soccer. I
Okay.
played soccer, I ref soccer. One of the things that I struggled with at the time was I was very unsure of myself. And when you're a referee, you have to be very sure and very in charge and confident.
Wow.
And when you blow that whistle, you better blow it hard and mean it and put that hand in the air. And because when you go through the, say, a referee course, you learn all the rules of the game, and a lot of them from playing, so you're comfortable there. But the one thing they never teach you about is how to be confident. And I can imagine kids coming out of that, they think they know, but also as you kind of get into those early teen years, a lot of times that's where you start to get self-conscious. That's where you start to second guess yourself and develop those fears. Before then, you don't think about fear, you just go do it, right?
Right.
But for that, or for other sports related items or things that are activities that people are doing in the summertime, might be an opportunity to augment a referee course or a baseball umpire course or something like that, just to talk about confident call making 101 or whatever it is.
That's great. That's a great connection because for me, I never thought of it that way. I come back to my experiences as, just being nervous with girls and,
Mm-hmm.
and I never refereed, I guess. So that's so cool that you come up with that. And it is a good connection. I think it's something that a coordinator would look at and go, oh, we see the value in this. How do we set it up? So really cool.
Yeah. And then the other part, the girl thing, you can always tackle for the New Year's resolution routine.
We'll work on something. I don't know. Well, there's something there.
Yeah,
Um,
that's your uh, you set it up for the day after Valentine's Day. And the lead in is for all of you guys who've been stalling after the present flower candy territory is cleared. Now's your chance to jump back into the dating pool.
yeah, will you be mine? Right.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
All
and
right.
more
Go
on
ahead.
competition, real quick.
Yeah.
Uh, I was thinking of a way to join up with them because
Mhm.
that's kind of how this works now. Is we can collaborate, we can do maybe where I come and talk with for them for whatever, maybe for free even. We do classes together or something like that, or like a long day session.
Yeah, I think along those same lines is you are doing courses with other people doing similar courses in that organization. So you can look up other people who are giving those courses that might be to similar profile client and talk to them and say, hey, besides this course you're doing here, what other courses are you doing? What other public speaking are you doing? What other ways are you interacting with your client base? And do you ever come across a situation where somebody might need body language training or speaking training or communication training, and would you mind referring them my way? And I might come across people who fit a similar skill set need that you have, and I can send them your direction as well.
So that's the win-win. But what is it? What else is it called? The just non-competition referral,
Uh,
or
or you can just call it a, it's kind of like a joint venture, but it's more like a just a straight. You're not really doing a finder's fee necessarily, but what I would say is that if you have similar groups of people you deal with, it's just a friendly referral, I think,
right?
more than anything else. Hey,
Okay.
if you ever come across anybody who needs this that you're not already dealing with, send them my way. But even beyond that, who are you who are you doing presentations for that I might not be doing yet that I could join up with? Because a lot of these, you're not really competing against the other speakers because somebody's looking for a specific result. If I'm looking for body language training, I'm probably not looking for Tai Chi. But if I come across somebody who's teaching Tai Chi at another community education event or at the local community college or at the local college, maybe he has some reference points of, hey, you need to call this person, and you can get in and just mention my name, and they'll be, oh yeah, Joe told me to talk to you, and yeah, we got another opening. Give me information on what your talk is, and we'll get you on board. I
Yes.
I, th- I think the inside discussion with somebody who's already doing it is going to go. It's like a warm lead-in.
Right. Okay. Back to that. Okay. I like it. The warm word of mouth.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
Uh,
good.
All right, let's move on to what's your biggest business problem that if you cleared it out of the way, you just see your business skyrocket?
Man, I don't know. It's there's so much to consider and there's so much to think about. As you know, as I expose myself more and more to people that have been doing this for years and years, you just see mountains and mountains of stuff to do. So I think for me, my biggest problem right now is when I get a canceled class. I think I'd say that's an opportunity that I could have been out in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
So with that problem, I was looking at it and I'm thinking I need to begin offering and coming up with a half hour to an hour class
Mm-hmm.
as one way to maybe help that to help to promote the classes in each area. Um, and then also another way to possibly solve that too is to write for maybe a local paper. Just
Mm-hmm.
see if they like my little column that I come up with, or solve a problem that maybe is locally going on with my topic.
Yeah, and I think the great thing is given the fact that you're already doing community presentations, that leads in really well to doing that for the local paper because you already have a community tie-in. That's huge. And then your topic about communication and people being uncovered, just telling your story and saying how we've spent time overcoming that in these classes and talk about some of the takeaways that people have and just the joy that it's brought them and the joy that it brings you teaching them. I think just a basic human interest story about you and about these classes and the difference you're making in people's lives in the community, that's
Mhm.
huge. And even as a takeaway from those classes, when you're done with a class, say in Rochester or wherever, you do a quick write up and say, hey, just wrapped up a class at such and such, and here's some of the things that happened. If you're interested in sharing, let me know. We'll do an interview or whatever. It's just, I think you're in an area where there's a really big opportunity at that local level that tie into the local world, and certainly any newspapers left over, particularly another area that's like that, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, which is those community catalogs that go out. I get one in my town as well, and it has coupons for local businesses. It has the events that are going on in terms of here are the classes that are happening through the local community center that you can sign up for. That's all in a little booklet that comes out each month. So with that, sometimes they'll also have like a human interest story from one of the people who's promoting in that catalog. Well, you could have that in there. So when those catalogs come out and you get those in the mail, contact the group that's putting those things out and find out how you can put an article in there that'll help their readers.
So there was just a little break on my
Mhm.
side.
Yeah.
And that last part one more time?
Yeah. So if you have a community pamphlet that comes out in the mail that basically outlines all the events that are happening in the community, and they have ads for local businesses, and they often also have various classes that you can take. It's kind of an all purpose for the community.
Okay.
Well, in some of those cases, they also have an article, a quarter-page article or something about one of the businesses in the community and something they're doing, or a special event, it's like a festival that's coming up. But if
Okay.
you had an article about the class you're teaching and some of the benefits that the individuals taking those classes from you have received, that's the kind of cool human interest story that helps them fill out the page with something other than straight ads and classes.
Okay.
And a lot of times they're looking for something that's easy to go after. And if you provide it just by, brief contact to the editor or whoever's doing it, and it may not catch the next group that's going out, sometimes they'll do it 3-4 months in advance
Hmm.
in terms of collecting the information for it, kind of like your community education courses, how they have deadlines earlier on to get that.
Okay.
But you could certainly contact them, and that would also give you extra credibility in the community for feeding off of for other opportunities.
Huh. I like it. I like it. I like it. Cool. It's really neat to see. I know that it makes sense to do all this stuff, but
Mhm.
just having you say it and having you your ideas about how I am speaking with the community. So making that jump into a community paper isn't that big of a it's not that big of a jump because it just
Mhm.
kind of fits. So it's really cool to get that feedback.
Exactly.
Cool.
All right. The next one, let's go down a little farther. This is a tricky one. Define or describe your ideal customer. Who, right now, it sounds like more it's community organizations, but down to the eventual person, who would that be? Give me a little profile of that person.
Yeah, there was just a little bit of a lag again. Um,
Yeah.
what was the question again?
So, so a profile of the person that you're working with, ideally, that individual taking your class, who would that be?
Let's see. I found a couple of different shades. One of them is the introvert that's looking to open up and connect with other people, just become more comfortable in conversation, and possibly change everything for them. There's that, and then there's kind of the next step from there, where they're not quite introvert. They're open with people, but they want to be able to project themselves in a confident way and without offending other people. So that's kind of right now with the fall classes. That's who's in my audience, I think.
Mhm.
And then another kind of category would be someone who is a professional at this. Maybe they're a trainer, or maybe they're a director, and they're looking for ways to implement these strategies in their organization, kind of a thing.
Very cool. It's neat because you have multiple tiers there, and I think each tier also has certain uh, dollar profiles associated with them. So you have a lower end and a higher end in each of those profiles.
Yeah, interesting. And I thought about it, but once you start talking about it, you really kind of you start seeing these people sitting in the audience. So
Yeah, very cool. All right, next. Here's an interesting one. We'll jump to this one because I think this is kind of a one that we don't often think about is if you looked at your top tier clients, your top 10%, who would that look like either right now or in the future? If you were thinking about who's that person that instead of paying $49 for a half hour or $1,000 for a day with you, but would pay a $5,000 event fee or something like that, what makes that person value what you do at that high level? And I think we kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday, but thinking in terms of like the person who's going to do a TED talk. Tell me about
okay,
that.
right. So let's see. It's interesting. It's maybe it's a I'm not sure if they're in my audience yet, but there's
Mm-hmm.
someone out there that I could definitely help in that realm. I think with coaching, maybe would you say that coaching is kind of that unique personal one-on-one time that might be a continual client, maybe ongoing client?
Yeah, I think the ultimate, if you really thought about the ultimate personal development speaker, you'd be thinking Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah,
And you go to his events and you pay boatloads of money, or you have a mastermind with him and five other people. You end up with all these people in a big room, and Tony's getting $250,000 for filling a seminar room, right? And you go, how does this happen? Well, yeah, he's very dynamic. He's
right,
very confident. And he's developed a crowd over the years, right? And
right,
so part of it is developing that following. And I think the more you do it and the better you get at it, and you just start building. It's like a lot of building blocks. You're starting with the community outreach version. Then you're doing, then you get a little bit of publicity in the newspaper, and all of a sudden you're doing maybe a higher level one. You're doing it for maybe a corporation brings you in for a 2-hour work session with their executives, and you sit down and you walk through an in corporation training session, and maybe they pay you a couple grand to come in for the day, a low price day for you. And you go in and do that, and by the end of it, they've all had a chance to work together on things and bond and really build things. A lot of times corporations will do executive retreats at the end of every year, and oftentimes when they do those, they like to bring in a speaker or something to talk to an area that they really struggle with, or that they want to energize their executives for the upcoming planning session. And so just being able to talk about stuff like that can often be a really big opportunity. And then because you've done it, then you can get some publicity about it at a higher level. So now instead of the local paper, maybe you're going to a regional paper, a big metro paper, and they're saying something, and then all of a sudden you start getting calls from bigger corporations wanting you to speak. Well, now they're calling you instead of you calling them, and that totally transforms the equation. And now you're like, well, I'm booked, but I can unbook myself for a $5,000 a day fee. Oh yeah, done. We'll get that. Do you want a limo picking you up, and what kind of water do you like, right?
right, right.
So
I
that's
like
where we want to get you eventually.
right, exactly.
We
And
got a few more days.
you're right. Yeah. So it's just that building, starting out small with the community, and then kind of gradually getting more and more, putting myself out there with writing and things like that, I think.
Yeah, because I think you're right on the right track, which is you're in building block mode. You can't go from where you're at today to Tony Robbins speaking stage overnight, because you're building your internal skill set while where you're building your confidence level, while you're building your curriculum, while you're fine tuning it and moving up the chain. And people generally don't jump straight to the top of the chain because there's all those things that have to happen. A lot of times you don't see it. Like when you're building your website, it's one thing to build a website, then it's another thing to post some blog posts, and it's another thing to get traffic to those blog posts. There's a lot of steps that have to happen, and it doesn't happen overnight. So a lot of it requires a little bit of patience, but it also requires a little advanced planning. Where am I headed next? What is that next building block in my career in this world? And constantly be looking at, how do I move from where I'm at today to that next higher building block? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Today to the next. So I'm just jotting down some notes here.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's good.
I like it a lot. On my radar, there's always, whenever I see a speaker or hear of a speaker, for my wife's work, Tony Robbins trainer came through and did like a 3 hour long session on, I think it was breaking your pattern, and it had to do with sales.
Yes.
And so his ticket price for that, I think, was something around $500, and then he was able to get them at like a $400 or $300 mark. But yeah, like a one huge event going on for like an all-day Saturday, and he had been selling hundreds and hundreds of tickets. So it's just kind of like this. You do the math, and you're like, how is it possible? But you start building those blocks and
Yeah.
creating that situation. So
Right. And I think that's a good point, is as these people come through, that's also your opportunity to talk with them about what you do and see if there's opportunities. For a lot of these all-day sessions, we'll have multiple speakers cover different topics. And the neat thing is, the more speakers you have, the more momentum you get, and the more interesting some of these get to become, because somebody may say, well, 3 out of the 5 of these I'm interested in, the other 2 I'm not so. But because there's 3 that are, they come. The other person may have 3 different things they're interested in, because their 3 are in there as well, they'll show up. So there is a benefit to that speaker if it's not just a pure name brand, everybody's coming for the name, but maybe there's a group of people who are speaking on a certain subject, or a lot of times it's personal improvement or business improvement or something. But yeah, you get 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms going with different speakers and people rotate through. Oftentimes you can get a lot of traction from that, and just making those connections, talking to those people ahead of time, find out where they're going to be for their next 5 gigs and see if they have an opportunity to add you to that. And if not, maybe this guy's doing Tony Robbins speaking, but on the side, he's also doing 5 other things that you could fit into. And just that he knows you're in there, he goes, puts it in the back of his Rolodex and goes, yeah, the next time I have an opportunity, I'm going to be thinking of Josh. What can I drop him into to add more value to the people that are coming through my seminars?
It's good. I like it. I like it, connecting with people. So
yes. All right, let's jump into kind of a final item. Just kind of to wrap up, what would you say you'd want people to know about you and your business, kind of as a final touch base? What is it about you and what you do that just kind of tells the whole story about what they could come to expect when they contact you?
Yeah, I guess really it's just my personal experience, just going through things, going through in my family, we've had some pretty tragic things going on. Pretty, growing up, I had things pretty good, but my parents' part of the family, we had a lot of feuding going on and just kind of wild, outrageous pain. It was just kind of wild. So my parents made sure that they weren't going to raise us that way, and that we were always going to be open and connected. And I really saw the value in that, and it kind of fueled this how can I help other people get to that point too. So my story kind of goes, my brother passed away, accidental overdose, and so he wasn't quite into, we didn't see it coming really, so he wasn't into the stage of major addict yet, but it was just kind of an accidental thing. And going through that, I'm the older brother, so I've always been there to help guide and things like that. So as I go through this and build kind of a cause with it, I'd like to really reach out and be able to have the opportunity to help people that are in that situation and create awareness about that. So that's just kind of my, still in the building blocks phase, but that's really being able to reach out and help people that might be in that situation.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate it, and I think we're about through our hour, but I really appreciate you having on this call, and hopefully you got some things out of that will benefit you, and we'll get a copy off to you here very soon.
You got it. Definitely, Mike. Thank you for having me on, and I've got a couple pages here of notes to get through and a lot of stuff to implement, so it's going to be busy.
All right. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mike. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.